You think people bother you. You think anger comes from them. But it doesn't. It rises from the mirror they unknowingly hold before you. Every person who irritates you, every moment that scrapes your patience raw, is a projection from the hidden corners of your psyche. They are not your enemies. They are symbols, living reflections of the parts of yourself you have refused to meet. Jung said, everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. That not philosophy, that a dark revelation. When someone's behavior disturbs you, it is your unconscious whispering B2 lives in you. The world doesn't attack you, it awakens you. Anger is unintegrated truth. It is the shadow knocking on the door of consciousness, begging to be seen. Every insult, every betrayal, every annoyance, alchemy waiting to happen. When you finally understand this, you stop fighting mirrors and start studying them. You stop being cold and start observing. Because no one can truly bother you unless they disturb the wound you've never faced. So breathe and say it with that. I face my own reflection. Type it below. Not at a comment, but at a ritual. The awakening begins there. Number 2. The alchemy of emotion. Anger is not evil. It's the raw material of transformation. The same fire that burns you can forge you. Jung believed emotion is the voice of the unconscious, and when ignored it turns poisonous. But when faced, it becomes gold. The goal isn't to suppress your anger or to pretend you're above it. That's just repression wearing a spiritual mask. The goal is to observe it coldly, calmly, like a scientist watching a storm through glass. Because when you watch anger without reacting, it begins to reveal its true shape. Beneath every outburst lies a truth, a fear, a hurt, a forgotten dream asking to be integrated. Every emotion has an archetype behind it. The warrior demanding boundaries, the lover craving connection, the child yearning for safety. If you can see the symbol beneath the surge, you master the current. You become the alchemist who turns lead into light. Every insult becomes a mirror for strength. Every irritation becomes an initiation into power. The world doesn't steal your peace, it offers you the tools to forge it. So when anger rises, don't fight it, study it. Turn inward and whisper, what are you trying to show me? Comment below, I transmute my fire. This is not weakness, it's shadow mastery, the kind only the brave can handle. Number 3. The power of the observer. The moment you learn to observe, you stop being possessed. Jung warned that what you do not make conscious will control your life, and you will call it fate. Most people live hypnotized by their reactions, puppets of emotion, dancing to the strings of unseen wounds. But when you observe, you cut the strings. Observation is the purest form of power. It's the silent throne of the self, the calm eye within every storm. Imagine standing in a burning room without fear, simply watching the flames. That's what awareness does to chaos. It dissolves it. The ego screams, they disrespected me. The shadow whispers, you still need their approval. When you see both voices clearly, you become the watcher, not the war. From that stillness, anger cannot touch you. Criticism becomes data, not a dagger. Judgment becomes wind, not weight. The observer is not cold, it's divine. It watches without needing to control. That's why the wise appear untouchable. Their power isn't reaction, it's recognition. Every insult is smoke, they see through it. Every challenge is energy, they redirect it. Every conflict becomes a mirror, they study it. You are not the waves, you are the ocean that holds them. So when chaos rises, don't drown, watch, comment below. I am the silent observer. Let the world roar and let your silence answer louder. Number 4. Meeting the shadow without fear. You cannot be free from what you fear to face. The shadow is not your enemy, your exile, every emotion, thought and desire you've condemned to darkness. Jung said the shadow is 90% pure gold. It hides your raw power, your buried instincts, your true authority. But you've spent years pretending to be good, trimming the wild edges of your soul to fit into the world's narrow shape. Every time you repress, the shadow grows teeth. It shows up as jealousy, rage, shame, emotions you think come from others. But they are your own forgotten voices demanding recognition. To never get angry again, you must take peace with your monster. Sit across from it, listen. Don't argue, don't justify, just witness. The monster is not evil, it's your energy, twisted by denial. When you integrate it, it transforms from a devourer into a guardian. The very traits you once feared, your intensity, your assertiveness, your selfishness, become strength, confidence, and self-respect. This is inner alchemy. You are not meant to destroy your darkness, you are meant to marry it. Because the shadow is the key to wholeness, and wholeness is the end of anger. The integrated person no longer reacts, they respond. They don't seek validation, they embody it. The world chaos no longer provokes them, it teaches them. Every shadow met consciously becomes light. A hidden truth accepted becomes liberation. The self you are running from is the same self that can save you. So look into your darkness until you recognize your reflection smiling back. That is real courage. That is psychological rebirth. Comment below, I embrace my shadow without fear. Let it be your initiation into power. Because once you meet your shadow, no one can decide against you again. Number 5, the warrior of stillness. True power does not shout, it does not tremble, it does not rush to prove itself. The strongest warrior in Jung world is not the one who conquers us, but the one who conquers the self. Stillness is not weakness, it is mastery disguised as silence. When the ego is provoked, it lunges outward like a wounded animal. When the self awakens, it stands unmoved, observing the storm pass through. Stillness is the sacred ground where reaction dies and wisdom is born. In stillness, you hear the subtle movements of your own psyche, the hidden motives behind your emotions, the quiet truth behind every illusion. Jung said, in el chaos, there is a cosmos, in el disorder, a secret order. The warrior of stillness sees that order. Their thoughts arise, their feelings burn, their fears whisper, and they do not run. They hold the line within. They know that to remain calm while the world loses itself is not passivity, it's sovereignty. The modern world feeds on your reactivity. It thrives on emotional bait. Every time you refuse to take it, you starve the collective shadow. Stillness is rebellion against manipulation. It's the art of saying, my peace is mine. When anger can, the warrior breathes. When insult arrives, they smile inwardly, knowing the universe is testing the sharpness of their awareness. Every provocation becomes practice. Every silence becomes strength. You become the mountain amid the thunder, the eye inside the hurricane. You stop needing to control others because you have learned to command yourself. Comment below, I am the warrior of stillness. Let it like a vow carved into your unconscious. For when stillness becomes your weapon, nothing external can pierce you. The battle ends. Not because the world has changed, but because you have. Number 6, the death of the E. The ego dies screaming. It does not surrender gracefully, it collapses, clawing for the illusion of control. It is the false king of your inner kingdom, terrified of its own dethroning. It feeds on comparison, validation, superiority, and fear. It survives by convincing you that you are it. But you are not. You are the awareness watching its endless theater, the masks, the performances, the need to be right, the hunger to be seen. Jung understood that the greatest suffering comes from identifying with what is transient. The ego wants control, but life is not meant to be controlled. It meant to be lived consciously. The death of the ego is not an act of violence, it is an act of awakening. It is not suicide, it is surrender. It allowing the false identity to dissolve, or the deeper self can rise, quiet, ancient, limitless. That self doesn't need to prove, argue, or possess. It simply is. An insult loses its venom because it can no longer wound what no longer exists. Every rejection loses its sting because there is no image left to defend. When you stop being the actor and become the stage, nothing disturbs you. The ego fears humiliation, the self welcomes it to purification. You begin to see that what feels like defeat is really initiation. Every loss, every heartbreak, every collapse of the image you built, these are sacred deaths clearing the way for rebirth. Jung said, there is no coming to consciousness without pain. The ego death is that pain, the tearing of illusion from reality. But once the tearing ends, peace floods in. You realize that the storm was never outside of you, it was your resistance to what is. The phoenix burns not out of tragedy, but necessity. From the ashes of ego rises the eternal witness, calm, vast, unbothered. You start living differently. No longer chasing validation, no longer reacting to praise or criticism, no longer mistaking identity for essence. You listen more, you speak less, you observe instead of control. Life moves through you like wind through open hands. You understand that anger, jealousy, pride, and fear are the ego cries for survival, ghosts that fade when faced with awareness. When the false king finally dies, the true self takes the throne, not they ruler, but ten witness. That is freedom. To never get angry again is not apathy, it resurrection, it rising from the ruins of your own illusions. The unbothered soul is not empty, it is spacious. It has room for all things, joy and sorrow, victory and failure, creation and destruction, without clinging to any of them. The ego demands identity, the self embraces impermanence. You no longer ask, who am I? You simply are. You exist as awareness itself, silent, steady, eternal. When the world tests you, and it tear, you smile. You recognize the mirror. You recognize the lesson. You see that no one can insult you, because no one can touch what is infinite. You see that no situation can humiliate you, because there is no you left to be humiliated. There is only consciousness, aware of itself through the play of form. So let the ego die. Let its screams fade into the quiet hum of truth. Let its ashes fall that they may, because what remains after the death of the false self is not emptiness, it is presence, luminous and unshaken. Comment below. I am not my ego, I am the one who sees. Let that phrase be your mantra. Let it ache through the ruins of an identity you've outgrown. Because once the ego finally dies, peace doesn't need to be found, it all that left. Number 7. The sacred art of detachment. Detachment is not indifference, it not coldness, it clarity. It the ability to hold the world without being consumed by it. Jung understood that suffering deep ped when we cling to people, to outcomes, to identities that were never meant to last. The sacred art of detachment is the alchemy of letting go without closing your heart, it loving without possession, giving without expectation, existing without dependency. When you detach, you don't withdraw from life, you rise above its unconscious pull. The mind that needs control is the mind that fears chaos, but chaos is only terrifying to the unanchored self. To the aware soul, it is rhythm, motion, transformation. Detachment allows you to watch without drowning, to observe desire, loss, rejection, success, and remain centered. It is standing at the center of your inner storm and say, this too shall pass, and so will I. When you stop attaching to how things should be, you finally see them too they are. And in that seeing, you become free. The universe does not punish, it purifies through impermanence. Every ending you resist is a doorway disguised in pain. Detachment is the sacred art of walking through it with open eyes and steady breath. The more you let go, the lighter you become. The lighter you become, the clearer the mirror of reality. No one can disturb what you no longer grip. Love flows more purely when it is not chained to fear. Peace blooms naturally when you stop forcing control. Comment below. I release everything that does not serve my stillness. Let it be your ritual of liberation. For the detached soul is not empty, it is spacious. It holds the entire world and remains untouched. And that, Jung would say, is the beginning of individuation, the return to the unshaken self that watches, loves, and lets go. Number 8. The symbolic dance of others. Everyone you meet is a symbol wearing human skin. Jung taught that life is not random, it is psychological theater. Every person plays a role written by your unconscious mind, performing in the dreamscape of your evolution. The lover who abandons you is the archetype of loss, the critic who mocks you is the shadow of your own doubt. The stranger who inspires you is the spark of your forgotten potential. When you stop with people illiteral and start see them in mirrors, you become the lucid dreamer of your own existence. You stop reacting and start interpreting. You begin to ask, what is this encounter trying to show me? Every conversation becomes scripture. Every betrayal becomes initiation. Others are not obstacles to your peace. They are sacred actors in the play of your becoming. The unconscious speaks through them, painting your lessons in flesh and circumstance. When you understand this, you no longer curse the difficult people. You thank them. You no longer chase validation. You recognize the teacher in the rejection. You stop fearing the opinions of others as you see through them. Like a dreamer who realizes the monsters are his own creation. You walk among projections without losing yourself inside them. You live symbolically, not sentimentally. This is psychological mysticism, the art of reading life as metaphor. To be unbothered is to see the code beneath the surface, to walk through human drama as through shifting clouds, untouched by their storms. Comment below, I see through the dream. Let those words seal your awareness. Because once you realize that every soul you meet is a reflection and revelation, you no longer resist the dance. You move with it gracer, awake, untouched. The stage remains chaotic, but the dreamer has awakened, and nothing can disturb the one who knows it all symbolic. Number 9. Transcending the collective shadow. The individual who masters their shadow does not escape the darkness of the world. They stand within it, untouched. Jung spoke of the collective shadow, the vast, unseen psyche of humanity that seeps into politics, culture, and faith, whispering through mobs and eight-chamber. It is the madness of the crowd, the blind anger of nations, the hunger for enemies. You see it every day, the outrage, the tribal noise, the endless wars of opinion. Everyone convinced they are righteous, yet possessed by what Jung called the autonomous complex fragments of psyche that think and act through us. To transcend anger, you must see this possession clearly. Most people are not thinking, they are being thought by the collective. Their emotions are not their own, they are echoes of archetypes, ancient, impersonal, contagious. Once you see that, compassion replaces contempt. You no longer argue with projections, you recognize patterns. The collective shadow thrives on identification. It wants you to pick a side, to feed its polarity. But detachment breaks its spell. When you refuse to participate in collective rage, you become an anomaly, dangerous, free, awake. You start to notice that the louder the world screams for justice, the more it hides its own inner imbalance. The cure is not rebellion, it's integration. Heal the war inside yourself, and the outer world loses its grip. Jung said, the world hangs on a thin thread, and that is the psyche of man. To heal the collective, you must heal the individual, and that individual is you. Every time you forgive, you weaken the psychic virus of hatred. Every time you stay silent in awareness instead of reacting, you dissolve centuries of inherited chaos. To transcend the collective shadow is not to escape humanity, but to redeem it through your consciousness. You become the hermit in the storm, the still flame that refuses to flicker. And though the masses may mock your calm, secretly, they feel it, a different frequency, ancient and unmovable. So when the world burns with outrage, light a candle instead. Observe, but don't absorb. Witness, but don't war. The collective shadow cannot feed on a soul that has made peace with itself. Comment below, I rise beyond the shadow of the world. Let it be your vow, to be in the world, but never owned by its unconsciousness. Number 10, the unshakable self. There comes a moment when the noise of the world no longer touches you, when the opinions, judgments, and chaos dissolve like waves crashing against a mountain. That moment is the birth of the unshaken self. Jung called it individuation, the process of becoming whole, of integrating every fragment of your psyche into one silent, sovereign center. It is not perfection, it is balance. You no longer seek to be only light or only good. You embrace the full spectrum, your gentleness and your fury, your love and your indifference, your faith and your doubt, and you let them coexist in harmony. To never be bothered again is not to become numb. It is to become complete. You feel everything, but nothing rules you. You walk through life like a lucid dreamer awake inside the illusion. The world may still project, provoke, and test you, but your stillness remains unbroken because you have discovered the eternal witness behind an experience. That witness is not emotion, not thought, not ego. It is consciousness itself, ancient and immovable. When you stand in that awareness, you are no longer human reacting to chaos, you are awareness watching humanity unfold. You realize anger cannot survive observation, and fear cannot survive understanding. The unshakable self doesn't control reality, it cooperates with it, flowing like water around every stone. Jung said, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are, and who you truly are cannot be insulted, cannot be diminished, cannot be destroyed. Every challenge, every betrayal, every disappointment, each one was a sculptor shaping this calm within you. You don't need to fight for peace anymore, you have become peace. You no longer chase validation, because you have met the infinite observer behind your face, the one who watches, learns, forgives, and remains. That is enlightenment in psychological form. That is freedom without escape. And as you stand there, silent in your strength, you understand. The world is not your enemy. It is your mirror, your training ground, your masterpiece in progress. Comment below, I am unshaken. Let that be the mark of your initiation, the seal of your awareness. If this journey has spoken to the deepest part of you, remember to subscribe and turn on notifications, because your evolution has only just begun, and the shadow is still whispering your name.